Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Better Call Saul Season 2, Episode 3, Amarillo. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Better Call Saul, so I have to give a spoiler warning for Better Call Saul up to Season 2, Episode 3. If you haven't seen up to this episode, you will not want to watch this video, otherwise some things may be spoiled for you. So Amarillo was kind of a slow-paced setup episode, but I still liked it. It was still a lot of fun, but not the blowouts that the first two episodes were, but that's fine. That's kind of to be expected in episode 3, but there were a lot of interesting things in this episode. So we start off with a scene of Jimmy in Texas meeting with a potential client. However, he meets with her in such a way that is obviously meant to attract the attention of the other seniors on board the bus in order to get them to sign up as well. And of course, the whole reason he got on the bus in the first place is because he paid the driver to break down so he could talk to them. In other words, this was a shady slipping Jimmy move that the higher ups may not be completely okay with if they knew about. And in the next scene, we see Jimmy at the board meeting with Chuck is there again, watching Jimmy like a hawk. After Jimmy's new boss praises him, Chuck rightfully questions how Jimmy managed to get so many clients, reminding people that it's illegal to solicit, particularly to solicit seniors, and if he did so, it could severely damage their case. Jimmy insists he didn't solicit and that the others came to him. Now, that's technically true, but he's on real shaky ground because he's obviously set the whole situation up so that the others would hear him, and if anyone found out that he paid the driver to stop at that exact spot, that would be a major blow for their case. But of course, Jimmy doesn't mention any of this, but Chuck can tell that something is up. But Hamlin and Jimmy's boss seem satisfied with this, so they move on. Jimmy tries to play footsie with Kim under the table like he did before, but she's completely unresponsive, so it becomes apparent to him that she's not happy with him. So Jimmy then speaks up to say that it won't happen again. And after the meeting, it's obvious she's still mad at him, so he chased her down to talk to her. And funnily enough, he didn't try to apologize or promise he wouldn't do it again. Instead, he just complained about Chuck and tried to pin it all on him, which of course didn't make him none too happy. And she then explained to him that she stuck up for him, and any bad behavior on him reflects poorly on her, and her career is at stake, so he promises to behave from here on out. So next we see Jimmy not having too much success gaining new clients with the mailers, particularly in Colorado Springs, where he receives 0 responses. So he approaches his boss about it and says he has another idea of showing a TV ad during Murder, She Wrote in order to elicit more clients. His boss seems okay with the idea, if not blown away by it. So later Jimmy reviews the commercial they came up with, and it's boring with text and voiceovers, so Jimmy sets to making his own more lively commercial. And once again, he does it by hiring the film students he used in the first season episode Hero, where he staged a dramatic rescue. This whole scene was a nice callback to season 1, as we see that douchey students again, and the old lady with the Alpine Shepherd Boy figurine. They even make a point to emphasize the Alpine Shepherd Boy, which of course was a name of an episode in season 1. I like how Jimmy said to one douchey student, "Does anyone even like you? Because, yeah, that kid was really annoying." And from my own personal experience as a film student, I can tell you their disinterest and exposure that they've received for doing a commercial that would air on TV was totally unrealistic, as being a film student is all about getting exposure. Sure, actually getting paid is a rare, great thing as well, but come on, these guys were far more douchey than any film students I've ever known, but maybe that's just me. Maybe they're different in New Mexico, I don't know. I did like how they put Jimmy in his place when they said, we don't have a dolly, dollies are extra, because dollies are actually expensive and they're a bit bulky and time consuming to set up. But I suppose it showed how little Jimmy knew about filmmaking, which was cool. But he had showmanship, and as he mentioned before, and so he was able to piece together a great commercial. So next we see Jimmy with Kim, where he shows her the commercial he made, and she was really impressed, but noticed she was surprised that his boss went for it, to which he kind of giggled and went, "Oh yeah, of course," making it obvious to the audience, and I'm not quite sure why it didn't make it so obvious to Kim as well, that Jimmy never showed it to his boss. And it was here that I knew this was going to be the thing that this episode was going to be about, where Jimmy was slipping Jimmy. This was his light switch, so to speak. Because why lie to Kim about it being approved? Why not just say, "Oh, I haven't shown it to him yet, but I will soon"? She wouldn't have been angry at that, but I guess, then he would have felt obligated to tell his boss about it, and it seems like he was still debating on whether or not he wanted to. In fact, in the next scene, we see him take the video and walk up to his boss's office, but he changes his mind, doesn't go in, and instead calls the TV station directly and decides to play the commercial. This is Jimmy's darker side winning out here. I know what he was thinking. He's thinking if he shows his boss, he might say no, but if he plays the commercial just once and gets the results, he can then go to his boss with proof that it's effective and then go to his boss with it. That's why the next time we see him, he's being all anxious to see whether or not people will actually call after the commercial airs, because as far as he's concerned, his whole job is pending on whether this is successful or not, and when it is, he thinks he's won and all is well. Of course, later on, when he's celebrating with Kim, his boss calls, and he thinks he's going to be congratulated, and I knew that wouldn't be the case, and that instead his boss would be pissed, but boy was he ever pissed. He made a really good point to Jimmy when he said, "How could you possibly think that we'd be okay with this?" However, that being said, he was way more upset than I would have thought he would have been. He called him an arsonist, and I think that's a bit over exaggerating, because he could have done much worse. And it's also interesting because so far his boss has been on his side, willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, but for the first time he turned fully against him, and to his credit, I completely agree with him. How could Jimmy think that this would be okay? I suppose this is further evidence that he's not cut out for this up and up work. And then he confounds his problems by lying to Kim and pretending like his boss is happy, which is also going to fuck up his personal life, because she's going to find out eventually he's just compounding mistake after mistake. So in the preview for the next episode, we see a scene where his boss is threatening to fire him, but I personally don't think he'll get fired. I think it will be a close call, but I think he'll just be reprimanded, and that's because where I think they're taking the story arc. I think that eventually he'll quit rather than be fired. I think that's what they're building to. That they put more limitations on him after this incident, and he'll have to tote the line, and he won't be able to stand it and will eventually quit. But I could be wrong. But the other question we're left with is, what will the boss think of the commercial? Because at the end of this episode, he hasn't seen it yet. And personally, I don't think he'll be too impressed with it, because it does have that sleazy lawyer feel to it. It reminds me of the Saul Goodman commercials we saw in Breaking Bad, though clearly it's not as bad, but it has that same sort of swarmy lawyer feel to it that people, such as classy law firms, won't be completely happy with. But then again, the fact that it got such good results might give them pause, and may be the only thing that keeps him from getting fired. But I think they'll keep him on a short leash from now on, but that's just my guess. So now let me get into Mike's storyline, which was somewhat interesting, as we see that his daughter-in-law is worried about gunshots going off in the middle of the night, so he stays up to watch over her house all night, and nothing happens, but the next morning she insists someone is shooting guns outside her house, and she even points to what she thinks are bullet holes. She even named a specific time that it happened, but of course Mike was there, so he knows no such thing happened. But after she insists that it did, Mike tells her he believes her, even though he knows for a fact that it isn't the case, and then he promises to move her out to a better house. So my question is, what are the chances that she's outright lying in order to manipulate him into buying her a house? It seems like the assumption he's making is that she's freaked out and imagining things, so he needs to help her for her mental health. But what if that isn't the case? What if she's just playing him? Personally, I think it's more likely she isn't lying, that she is in fact freaked out. But that's an interesting possibility I'm just throwing out there. So Mike is now in desperate need of more money, so he goes to his veterinary friend for some more shady jobs, and he offers him a job as a goon working for a loan shark, but Mike is totally against this, so he just takes another measly job as a bodyguard that doesn't pay very well, until he gets a call from the vet saying someone asked specifically for him for a job that pays a lot. So Mike goes to meet with this guy, and I'm not the least bit surprised that it is Nacho, because that's the only one we've seen who really knows who Mike is. Although, if I'm being honest here, in the back of my mind I was kind of thinking it might be Gus Fring, but it's too early for that. Anyway, Nacho tells Mike that he has a big problem, that a guy that he wants to go away. And then we end the episode there, which was really frustrating to me, but okay. So the question is, what does he mean by go away? The obvious answer is kill. But if we saw that Mike was unwilling to break people's legs for a loan shark, surely he wouldn't be okay with killing someone for Nacho. But there are several possibilities at this stage. Maybe Nacho doesn't mean kill, or maybe he did, but Mike will find another way to make this guy go away without killing him. If I were to guess, I don't think Nacho means kill, because he has goons who seem really capable of simply killing someone, unless this is some really rich or high up or hard to get person that maybe his goons couldn't handle. But I think it's more likely, for whatever reason, Nacho doesn't want this man killed, just gone, in which case it would make sense to go to Mike, because he knows Mike has skills to be able to track people down, find information about them, and to manipulate them or blackmail them, which is what he did to him in the case of the nerdy guy Price. So it seems to me Nacho appreciates Mike for his skills as a PI rather than an assassin, but we'll see, maybe I'm wrong. Although Mike does have some character transformations to go through himself, as in Breaking Bad he had no compunction of killing and hurting people, as he blatantly tried to kill Walter White when he was ordered to, and he threatened Saul Goodman and hurt him in order to get information about Walt out of him. So he does come to be a more rough character later on, so maybe this is the beginning of that transformation. We'll see. Either way, I hope this circles back again to have something to do with Jimmy. I'm guessing after he leaves the law firm that he's at, which I think is still at least several episodes away. Maybe not even until the finale, but we'll see. So my rating for Amarillo is a 7, very good. A decent episode, not much happened in it. It was more of a setup than anything else. But it got me really excited to see what will happen next. And in fact, they ended it too much on a cliffhanger for my taste. Because I really want to see what Nacho has in mind. And I really want to see what Jimmy's boss has to say about that video in the meeting that he called. But the episode was fine. It had solid comedy, solid drama that you'd come to expect from this show. It wasn't boring. It was solid, but nothing special. So that's it for my review of Amarillo. Be sure to check back here every week as I review episodes of Better Call Saul, and be sure to check out my weekly reviews for shows like The Walking Dead and Vikings, and also Netflix shows I'll be covering soon like House of Cards and Daredevil, and I also try to cover at least one Game of Thrones video a week. So make sure you subscribe so you can keep up with all that, and thanks a lot for watching.